Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Breakthrough Podcast. This is a show for wellness coaches, yoga teachers, meditation teachers, and just wellness spiritual creators out there who are building something meaningful in the world. Each episode features honest conversations with the teachers and founders that I've worked with, that I've known. And basically, it's about how they build their following, structure their businesses, and how they've navigated real challenges behind the scenes. So this podcast is not about the hype and overnight success and sugarcoating things. It's real stuff. It's human stories, hard lessons, and the moments where people truly hit their breakthrough, pun intended. All right. So today I have an extremely special guest. This truly is one of the most beautiful humans I have known. I'm going to cry just saying this. That truly, I'm so touched by her. And I'm saying this after, I have a 10-month-old daughter, even including her. Jesi's one of the most beautiful humans I know. Jesi's the founder of Wheel With Me Organizations, a true visionary in adaptive fitness, disability advocacy, and community empowerment. Jesi's story is nothing short of extraordinary. It's amazing. And it's not just because of what happened to her. I think that is well documented. She's talked about it a lot. But also about from what happened to her, which was a life-altering motorcycle accident that left her with a spinal cord injury. Jesi rebuilt her life with intention, courage, resilience, and her journey from that pivotal moment to becoming a leader and an inspiration that has touched literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of lives around the world. This year, Jesi released this amazing memoir, Power in the Role. It's a life at full throttle after spinal cord injury. That's her book. You can get it on Amazon now. This is where she shares raw realities of her recovery journey, the emotional highs and lows, and how she turned adversity into fuel for growth, leadership, and purpose. Her book is extremely powerful. I highly recommend it. She's also the driving force behind the Wheel With Me Foundation, which bridges the gap between rehabilitation and independent living for people with spinal cord injuries, and creator with breakthrough of the Wheel With Me Adapt Fit app with Nikki. And finally, what I want to say is the reason I believe I truly feel Jesi's such a beautiful human is what I admire about her is her integrity. She shows up without pretending, without sugarcoating, without making like this whole inspiration to be a whole performance. She's real, man. And she tells the truth and what it takes to rebuild the body, identity, and life. So this conversation is about all of that stuff and so much more. Please welcome Jesi Stracham. Jesi, so nice to have you here.
Oh, what an intro, man. I'm like, wow.
I'm your hype man, girl. I'm your hype man.
What do you do before I come out?
Anytime you get down, you give me a ring.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I got my hype man coming.
I mean, look, you're the real hype girl. You're the real inspiration. So listen, tell me about. Let's get started at the book. You just released this book. I talked to a lot of our partners that are like, hey, I'm working on a book. How do I get a publisher and stuff like that? Can you start there? What was the process of the book and kind of how did that come about and how's it been? Tell us a bit about it.
I want to start with you have to be careful with who you choose to partner with on this. I spent 2 years working with somebody who presented themselves to be a professional in the space as an editor and publisher, and they were not. And so I spent 2 years writing a book that never came to. And so I actually had to start over again after that. I talked to a Google document for 6 months and I just shared impactful parts of my life. So I did pre-injury, post-injury, all the above. 'Cause there's a lot of things I didn't learn before I was injured that in retrospect, I was like, wow, that was a lesson that God was trying to lead me to. And I kind of missed out, went right over my head. And so I want to raise awareness to those things because I think a lot of times we look at mistakes as mistakes and not as lessons. And so I spent 6 months just talking to Google. And then I found an editor who was awesome. Her name's Catherine Tink. I'd highly recommend her. She edited the whole book. I had chapters in 3 months. Then we filled those chapters in and she started pushing us to different publishers. And then I was picked up by a North Carolina publishing company called McFarland Publishing. And From there, the process from the time we gave them the manuscript to the time the book was released was about a year. So it took us about 6 months to get the edit or the content there, about another 6 months to edit, and then we submitted the manuscript, and then we had a book.
Very cool. That's really honest, promising. You're delivering on the promise of being honest of the highs and lows already, but that's great. And I know how. So with publishing book, how does the money usually flow? I know sometimes you get a bonus, or I don't think you have to invest much into it, right? And you get like royalties. Can you just talk to us about how the money flows, the economics of it?
Yeah. So when you self-publish, you put the money up front. It's usually around like $10,000 for some self-publishing, and then it goes from there. When you have a publisher, which I love, the biggest thing I was worried about was they had control over the title. And I was really worried they wouldn't choose my title because I'd been calling the book Power in the Role for 4 years by the point. And I was like, please choose my title. I was really attached to it. Luckily, they came through and chose the title, so that was good. But they cover everything. They actually got the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. So by them doing that, then I contact the Barnes & Noble stores to set up book signings because each store operates independently. But that was the really nice thing about having a publisher. Now, they do take some off the top, and then I obviously have to split some other with my editor. But once it was all said and done, I mean, I bought copies and offered them on my website as signed copies. And so that's always an option too. If you want to do something for your followers, you can offer signed copies on your website if you're not actually going to have a book signing. I recommend for your first book going through with a publisher. It just makes the process really easy. They do that manual labor for you, which is what you're paying for on that, where their cut of it and everything. And there's no overhead for you on it, which is besides the books you purchase and sell. So it's really, really nice. And like I said, like it's really cool because Nikki and I do these events called Abilities Expos where we lead live workouts. And I already partnered with the Barnes & Noble for the Chicago one, and they're going to come and we're going to do a signing at the Abilities Expo. So say you have an event and you have your book in Barnes & Noble, you can contact that local Barnes & Noble and say, hey, I want to do an on-site book signing. And then they decide whether they're open to that or not. But you can set those things up.
Talk to me a little bit about the distribution. So obviously you have your own following for the book specifically. I mean, you're following that you're promoting the book on. And then it's in Barnes & Nobles. I'm sure it's in other stores. It's obviously on Amazon. That's where I saw it. How do they handle the distribution to make sure the word gets out? And is there any kind of responsibility that you have in there in terms of the book contract?
So distribution marketing is all your responsibility as the author. Mm-hmm. They did not hold my hand on that. I will say the biggest thing too is the publisher releases the book before Amazon and Barnes & Noble actually send it. So anyone who pre-ordered my book on Amazon, the book came out the day before Thanksgiving, but then Amazon saying it's not available until the following June. Individuals that ordered it on Barnes & Noble pre-ordered, they just now got their shipment. And so even though my local store has copies in store because I requested it. And so every store, brick and mortar, won't have it unless you call and request either. And so that also is a little bit challenging.
And you have to do that, not the publisher, right? So that falls in your responsibilities. Interesting.
Yeah. But the cool thing about having a publisher is, so Barnes & Noble requires, if they bring a book in store, they want to be sure that they're able to return any of the books they don't sell. Mm-hmm. And so the publisher that I have has it where my book's returnable. Luckily, my local store, they were super supportive. He ordered 50 copies for my signing. We sold all but 5 of them. He had me sign the remaining 5. And as of the beginning of the year, there was only 2 copies left in store. So really cool that the book moved that quickly and that well. And I had the support from my local store.
That is awesome. And how long did it take for you? I know you were talking to the Google Doc, like you said. How long did it take for you to write this entire book?
Yeah, it ended up being, by the time we talked to the Google Doc, got it all edited, read through. I mean, I read the book 5 times before we sent it to the publisher from beginning to end. By the time we did all of that, it was around a little over a year that we had been working on it. The other thing that the publisher doesn't cover, which I wanted to do, is an audiobook. So I'm currently recording the audiobook in my voice.
Oh my God. Amazing.
And it's really cool because the foreword was written by one of my best friends who actually races NASCAR. And she's going to read the foreword for the audiobook as well. So it's not going to be me reading that. She'll read it, and then I'll be reading the audiobook. I'm hoping to have that finished in March. It's a lot bigger feat than you ever expect. And then I paid out of pocket for it. And so that's the other thing. And that cost me personally, with recording sessions and editing on the studio's part, it ended up being, I think I'm at like $4,000 for the audiobook.
Okay.
But I really, because I'm disabled and there's so many people in my situation that might not have the best eyesight, or they might not have the capacity to be able to read, I wanted to give that listening option, but I wanted them to hear it in my voice because I've built this brand. I really like that. And I was really inspired by Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because he reads it in his voice and you see the story. And so like the people that learn the personality and know the things, like they're going to see the story and see the things I'm talking about. And so that makes it really cool.
Listen, I love audiobooks. My wife, she's like, I don't think she's dyslexic, but she just like prefers just audiobook. She does not read a single thing. That's amazing. So let me just quickly dig into the finances there, just out of curiosity, because people that haven't done this, it's unknown kind of how it all goes down. So you invested money for the audiobook. Was that specifically in like studio time, like recording time? Studio time and in the editing. Luckily, I have a friend that has an editor. Yeah. Yeah. So the individual that owns the studio also does all the editing. I'm lucky. I have a friend who does all of this for me, and like he's done other media projects for me. And so it's a 2-hour drive from where I live up to Black Mountain, North Carolina. And I go up there and go record. We'll spend about 8 hours in the studio. It's really hard to read your own book. I will say that. So like the editing process, I have all these drafts that I've went back and listened to. And then I have to write the timestamps where like I have a weird swallow, or I need some more room tone, or I want to re-record it because it just sounds robotic, or it doesn't sound good, or I stutter. And so having to listen back to the chapters, I will say, like, listening back to your trauma over and over again and rereading your trauma over and over again, it does get daunting. And there was a point when I was recording, especially the hospital stuff, because I talk about getting paralyzed so much that those parts I have to re-record because you could tell I'm just over it. And I'm like, that's not what I want the audience to absorb. So I have to be really mindful of that. When I talk about, I had an abortion at 15 years old, which is like one of the biggest monumental impacts that looking back, I see how monumental it was. But in the moment, I kind of glazed over it. And reading about that was really difficult. And I didn't realize just how difficult it was going to be. And I was like, wow, I never fully addressed this emotionally. And so I will say, if you're going to be raw, real, and honest in a memoir, it's when you do read back the audiobook, when you do read back the book itself, it does get kind of emotional and a little intense there. And you have to be mindful to protect yourself from not diving back into those dark energies from those time periods of your life. Wow. That's what a powerful journey doing this and putting it out there and recording and listening to it. Thank you for sharing that. Once you do finish the recording, is the recording almost done? Or is it audio? You guys are working on it now, right?
So yeah, I had 20, I think there's 25 chapters in my book, and we got through, excuse me, 22. And so I do I still have chapters 20, 21, 22 to listen to. And then I got to record the final chapters. So I have a session in a couple of weeks. I've had a wound and I've been sick, just other issues. And so I haven't been able to record the whole month of January. So my next session's in February.
Once you finish the recording, you get the MP3 file, whatever equivalent audio version. And then what do? Are you going to submit it to like an Audible, and then all the money that makes, that's 100% yours, right? Because you put the money up, or do you share that with the publisher? How does that work?
So the publisher actually does all the submission for me. And so I do share a little bit of that percentage with them as well. But I just, like I said, I just want to get my story out there. Realistically, I'm going to be completely honest. Money's not made, like big money is not made on books, but it does give you notoriety, and it gives you just that extra oomph behind what you're doing. Like, yeah, I've done all these amazing things, but now it's documented in this book that I can sell to you and give to you. And now you can pass that on to your employees. If I want to do corporate keynotes, I'm trying to get it into hospital systems and get hospital systems to buy it in bulk so they can give it to new patients. So it's giving a resource to the world essentially, which just gives you more notoriety. People will just learn about you more, and there's someone out there that will relate with it. Like, even if you're not disabled, I'm sure there's something in this book that you can relate to. I'm very candid about seeking validation and self-love through sex my entire childhood into my young adulthood. And I'm very open and honest about that. And as a woman, that's not something that's typically talked about. It's kind of frowned upon. And so I really dive into that and how the lessons I wish I would have learned at a younger age from that, and how we can protect ourselves in the future. And my goal is just to save somebody like me. And so it's not just about the paralysis. And I think that's what's powerful about it. So like, if you write a book, to the listener, if you're writing a book, don't make it just about whatever you went through in that hardship. Write about what happened before and what happened after. That's so important, because there's so much more than just the one event that happened in your life.
That's so powerful. And it, I believe anybody going through traumatic events, whether it's losing a parent, going through an accident, and things like that, it's just like you feel so alone. I lost my dad in an accident. He was 62 years old. This has happened 10 years ago. And you just feel like, holy fuck, I'm the only person in the world that's feeling this right now, And I think hearing somebody else's story and their version, whatever they went through, I feel like there's definitely a big connection. So I think you've done that justice, and you can't put a price on that.
No.
That's priceless. And you can't buy that either.
Exactly. I think it's so important too to like recognize that there's somebody going through exactly what you're going through. Get on Facebook, join a support group. Like, there's a support group for everything, and that can help carry you. And then when there's someone new in there that's going through what you're going through, you can help carry them. And I think that's really the coolest thing about getting support, is you get to give support one day. And I know in the moment when we need the support, we're not thinking of it, but like, reach out to people. I have 2 people that were injured last year that I've been kind of mentoring and talking to. And both of them have said, well, I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, you are not bothering me. Like, I understand what you're going through. Reach out. You're not alone. Stop doing this alone. You don't have to. And I think that speaks to us as humans as a whole, as we constantly think we're in the struggle alone, whether it's financial struggle or the struggle of a relationship ending and not working out well, or the struggle of having a child going through something like cancer. Like, we often think we're alone in those things, and we're not. Like, there's somebody out there that dealt with it before. I'm a bonus mom now, and our youngest has had, it's so cool. It's the coolest thing. But our youngest has had brain cancer. And so he had it as a toddler, and he's had 3 major surgeries on his brain. A really healthy 9-year-old in remission. Like, he's about to be 10 next month, living his best life, plays all the sports. But we started a YouTube channel for him because he asked when I came into the picture. Obviously, I'm an influencer, and he's like, I really want to inspire a kid with cancer that there's life after cancer. Can we start a YouTube? And I was like, can we start a YouTube? Absolutely. And so it was really cool because, like, you don't even realize who you're going to impact. Like, here I am with my wheelchair, my spinal cord injury, and I'm impacting this little boy who's just the sweetest thing in the whole world to go out and make a difference.
Wow, what a perfect influence for him, and so happy to hear he's healthy.
Oh yeah.
Now let's thanks for sharing all of that and the book specifically. Let's go back now to I don't want to. We're not going to relive the injury. Obviously, you've relived it many times. Clearly, you've dealt with it, and you're so powerful in that regard. There's a spiritual guru who was like a spiritual teacher who was kind of my intro into the spiritual world, named Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about this concept of transmuting. Where like you go through a pain, some sort of like trauma, but then you transmute it. You kind of turn it around into something very positive. And I want to talk about that process with you. And that's what you did. You've done that. You've done it successfully. You've done it at small levels and at big levels. It's amazing. And everywhere in between. So once accident happens and you're like on the road to recovery and obviously dealing with all that trauma, I don't want to like just trivialize it by talking about it for 30 seconds, but like, I want to give it the respect that it deserves of what actually happened. But after that, talk to us what the journey was to building an Instagram and starting to be like, I'm going to transmute this to try to start to inspire people. What was that like? Were you already doing Instagram before, or was that like a completely new thing and then you just kind of committed to it? Talk to us about that starting.
Before my accident, I used Instagram the way Instagram was meant to be used, for family sharing and photo sharing. And then when I got paralyzed, I was in the hospital still. I was still in surgical trauma ICU. I couldn't even talk. I had tubes down my throat. But I joined Facebook support groups for spinal cord injury. And I made a post and I said, hey, I was just in a motorcycle accident last week. I'm in ICU. I have a T4 spinal cord injury. What is my life going to look like? And hundreds of comments of people sharing going to work, having a family, riding their four-wheelers, having a farm, all these amazing things. And it gave me hope. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be okay. Like, life is truly going to be what I make it. And it was really early on that, and I don't want to like sugarcoat that I didn't struggle. Like, there was plenty of times where I'd fall on the floor and I couldn't get myself back up and I'd be stuck there for hours waiting for someone to get home and get me off the floor. Times I peed myself and I would be just soiled and trying to figure out how to clean myself up. I got an infection in my bowels the first week I was out of the hospital, had to be re-hospitalized. So I don't want to discredit that it wasn't an easy road. But early on, I realized that I had two choices. I could either be the victim of what happened to me and be miserable, which I did take that road for a little bit. And it made it harder. It made me just constantly have issues, constantly have infections. I just continued to attract even more ugly side of the injury, essentially. Where whenever I was like, all right, I'm just going to make the best of this. I got to figure it out. I can't change it. So I have to live with it and just act like it doesn't matter and be happy. And that's literally what I told myself. I was like, it's just, and I faked it till I made it, of acting like it didn't matter until I was happy. Because at the end of the day, if we focus on our problems nonstop, we're just going to multiply that problem. It's going to get worse. You ever have financial issues and you focus on the financial issues and it just gets worse and worse and all you see is the darkness of it? Whereas whenever you're like, it's going to get better. I know it's going to get better. I'm doing the work. It's got to get better. And then next thing you know, this money for the bill you didn't know how you were going to pay shows up in your account. And you're like, perfect. Same thing with the injury. I feel like I attracted the ability to just be happy about it and be okay and make the most of it. Like, every day is not okay. I've had the hardest year this past year with my health. I'm still happy. I'm still alive. I'm still here. And I feel really grateful that I get to live this life.
Wow, that is beautiful. Talk us through building it into a business. Okay, turning entrepreneur. Now I'm like, all right, I'm turning this around. You made the choice, which so powerful. And I feel like many people stay in that like victim. And I think like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is what it is. That's part of the human journey, right? But you made that choice and you made that turn. Talk us through what was the starting of becoming an entrepreneur?
So I raced off-road on four-wheelers my entire childhood, and I had to constantly get sponsors every year to help with things, whether it was gear or parts, whatever it was. I constantly had to get sponsors. So when I got paralyzed, I was like, well, now I have wheels constantly. Let me get sponsors for the wheelchair. And so that's really what led into my entrepreneur journey, because I was racing off-road still. I raced for Polaris for 3 years when I got paralyzed in a single seat side-by-side in a series called GNCC, which is woods racing. So I'm in like a razor essentially for one person racing in the woods with hand controls paralyzed. It was the coolest thing in the world. Well, then from there, I wanted to go to the Paralympics. So I tried out for Team USA for wheelchair curling, the sport on ice, and I made the national developmental team. And so we traveled all over the country to different curling clubs, and I had to get money to be able to do that. And so I started just documenting what I was doing as I was getting sponsors. And then it kind of turned into content creation. And then I dated somebody, he's referred to as the nurse in the book. And he's actually the one who pushed me to start an LLC. He did it for me. And so he started my LLC, Wheel With Me LLC. And from there, it was like, all right, let me get speaking engagements. Let me be a brand ambassador. Let me go to these different events. And that's really what started the entrepreneur journey, essentially. Was I raced off road, always had to get sponsors, got paralyzed, was like, well, I use a wheelchair, I get wheelchair sponsors. And so like, I've been in a box wheelchair, the brand, since 2017. I've used Spinergy wheels, which are like basically this coolest looking shoes for a wheelchair, since 2017. I've been riding on Kenda tires since 2018. And I've been working with WellSpect and Loafer catheters since 2018. So like my brands are all brands I use. I will never promote something I don't use. I'm very adamant on being authentic in that way. But I've been with them for years. And so you cultivate this relationship with brands that you work with. I was like, I want to partner with people that I use. I purposely design life that way because you see these influencers take these brand deals, like electric wheelchair companies reach out to me. I'm not going to use an electric wheelchair, but if you give me a 3-wheel attachment for my wheelchair, I'd probably use that. Like handlebars, right? And so there's certain things I won't partner with regardless of the money, because I'm not going to dilute my brand for money. It's not worth it. And I think that's probably one of the most important things. You might not grow as fast, but when you stay authentic, your audience knows what to expect with you. And so they're not surprised when you do certain things. They're not surprised when you say certain things. And it's like, okay, I know that I'm going to get the realest version of this human.
Yeah, I love that. With Instagram, we have work with influencers, right? That's our business. And we help them make apps and monetize that, right? And build an audience in the app. And one of the things I constantly hear is just that there's a love-hate relationship with Instagram in terms of, I feel like being an influencer. Like I have my best friend, he's just starting this TikTok and he got a taste of getting thousands of views. Now he's at like 5,000 followers. And he's talking to me about how much it's an emotional roller coaster because you get so much validation. He got 70,000 views on one TikTok and on one reel, and the next one got 3,000, and he's like depressed, And I feel like people go through that in multiple levels, right? Even when they hit hundreds of thousands of followers. What's your relationship been with Instagram when it comes to posting and stuff? You're super active on social media, and it's continuing to grow your brand and touch people. You personally, what's your relationship there?
So I actually cross-post all my content on all platforms: LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. YouTube is popping. I honestly am liking YouTube more than I like Instagram right now. Because YouTube is truly like, once you get to the paid status, it's better payments than Instagram. And Facebook business pages also pay well. All my Instagram reels automatically upload to Facebook. You're already uploading the content. If you can monetize it, 10 out of 10 recommend. I get like a check for $150 every month from Facebook just for the ads on my reels. And That's cool. Like content I'm already making. So I do want to say, for all the platforms you can monetize on, do it. I was verified before you could buy it. I'm verified on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And so I did that through podcasts. That's honestly my favorite way to grow. I love being a guest on podcasts. I love having conversations. I love getting to know other people. I love to share other people's audiences with mine. Now, when it comes to the content, I hate going viral. It's probably my least favorite thing, because when you go viral, you're not touching the people that you want to touch. You're hitting the masses. And so, for example, again talk about being a woman and having sex. And had I not had a sex addiction and went down that road, I would have never got on that motorcycle, because I was on the motorcycle with somebody I was using. And so I had made a post saying this. And of course, it's just like hundreds of men being ugly on the comment section.
That went super viral. I remember seeing that post. Yeah.
Yep. And it's at like 2 million views right now. And I'm just like, and it's so funny because it will pop off again. That's the other thing. Like, your content might not pop off today, but all of a sudden 6 months later, it will pop off. Like I have a video from when it was me riding the motorcycle I was paralyzed on in a parking lot, and then me in the hospital bed, and the audio was like, did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope. And so like that one's popping back off, and I posted that 6 months ago. And so like you can't get caught up in the views. And second of all, have you ever seen a room of 3,000 people or 1,000 people? Like that's a lot of fucking people. Yeah, yes. Dude. And like for us to be, are you serious right now? You're upset that you only got 100 views. Like have you ever seen a room of 100 people? That's a lot of freaking people. So I think that we need to just stop focusing on virality and really focus on hitting the people that need to hear our message, because that's what's important. You need to focus on getting the message out there. And early on, I was so focused on followers, views, and all the things. Nothing changes when you get verified. Nothing changes when you get the followers. I have across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, I'm at around 500,000 altogether cumulatively. And I can tell you nothing changes. Like, yeah, I've gotten some cool brand partnerships, but other than that, like, you're still the same person. And you can't let people that are hiding behind a screen, that if they saw you in real life, they probably wouldn't say half the things they say behind that screen. You can't let them dictate your life. You're never going to meet them. And at the end of the day, there's 8 billion people in the world. Have you liked every single person you've ever met? Probably not.
Impossible.
No, I haven't. And it's totally impossible. So how can you expect everyone to like you and resonate with you? The haters are going to hate. They're not doing what you're doing. They're not going to put the work in that you're putting in. So you cannot let these people dictate it. And furthermore, 1,000 people is 1,000 people. 100 people is 100 people. That's better than nobody. You are touching lives. And if this one piece of content doesn't hit here, okay, look at the hook. Look at the caption. What can you change? Repurpose it. Throw it up on a trial reel. I love trial reels on Instagram. That is one of my favorite features. I use it regularly, especially on Wheel With Me Adapt Fit, because we're really actively trying to grow that page and hit more wheelchair users to get more people in the app and actually using it and having a program. And so like I throw things up, like the other day I did a trial reel of like $14.99 is too much a month for an app, but you have 3 Amazon orders on the way and have no idea what's coming. Like get out of here. Right?
Sometimes I buy 2 coffees and that's $20, you know?
Like you'll buy a pizza, but you won't buy the app. Like, and
right.
And I am collabing a little bit with Wheel With Me Adapt Fit, but because I own the Instagram handle Wheel With Me, I'm thinking of collabing my wheelchair stuff there and turning that into my wheelchair focus with Wheel With Me Adapt Fit and Foundation, and then really making Jesi Stracham that powerful mindset leadership brand. Mm-hmm. And so I'm also in a personal shift right now and when it comes to content. And I think that's important to know too. Just because you choose one niche does not mean you need to stay there. And like you're allowed as an individual to rebrand, and you don't have to solely be your brand. I will say you as an individual helps your brand grow. Your name, who you are, the platform you built, that will help whatever you're creating grow. But that does not have to be your whole identity. And for so long, my whole identity was disability and wheelchair. And that's like the least important thing of me. I'm a leader first. Yes. I'm a I love sales. I do sales. My main job is I'm a medical device sales rep, and I love sales. It's so fun to me. I get a rush. I did motorcycle sales for a long time. Did catheter sales. I did fitness apparel sales. And so I've been in sales my whole life, and that's truly my big passion. And so my content's going to shift to that. And like being an entrepreneur, I just exited my first business. I co-owned a wellness facility, and our partners bought us out at the end of last year. And I want to talk about like owning a brick and mortar and how crazy that is. Like that's something that in itself, coming from the app world, like we've had Wheel With Me Adapt Fit since 2022. And coming from the app world to owning a brick and mortar with employees and overhead, and like you're like having to cover $8,000 of overhead with memberships, and you're like, how the heck am I going to do this? Like, I want to talk about those things, right? Because now this experience is so different. And then sprinkle in the disability in there, but that's not the focus anymore. It's like, hey, we can do these things. I worked a full-time job to save the money to buy a business. And so sometimes you got to work to be able to keep the business running. Like you can't expect to live out of your business when it first starts. And there's so many things that I want to shift to personally. And so I say that to say, like, if your content's allowed to change as you grow and develop, like human beings are meant to keep developing, keep growing, keep getting better. And don't hold yourself to who you've always been just because you think that's what your brand is and that's what it has to be.
You are the queen of mindset. You're the queen and king of mindset. All right, we're gonna give you both titles just because there's no competition. What I love about mindset specifically is, and I've had breakthrough, bootstrap this. We got a little bit of angel investment for 6 years now. And now we've been profitable for a couple of years, and we're continuing to grow. But at the same time, it's like every single day is hard. There's a quote about running a business and owning a business. They say, I won't say who it comes from. The author is well known, but shall remain anonymous. The quote is, building a business is like chewing glass and looking into the abyss. So you're looking into darkness and chewing glass every single fucking day. And if you don't love it, if there's not that some sort of motivation, some sort of like passion behind it, if you don't have the right mindset, you're just gonna give up and fail, and you're not gonna keep doing it, and failure is not final. Failure sometimes is like the precursor to the success, and I really believe in that too. But your mindset is so strong. So I want to move a little bit into the mindness aspect of it. I believe how powerful that is. Specifically as you're changing your brand on Instagram, right? And I think this is where mindset, it seems maybe at the surface seems simple, but I think it can be really challenging because you start to self-doubt. And especially when you're posting, you look at those follower numbers, engagement numbers, it becomes part of your thing, part of your like validation or whatever. You're counting your likes and followers and views. But as you're changing your message, let's assume that you were getting whatever number of analytics, you're getting 10,000 views on each post, and then all of a sudden you start changing your message, and now you're getting 2,000. Or maybe we can take to the flip side, now you're getting more views. Talk to us about changing that message, which we're currently you've been in that transition. Do you look at that? Like, what continues to drive you? Or would it ever be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't change to this based on some metric? Or is it more driven from like, hey, this is just who I authentically am, and I'm just going to keep powering it? Talk to us about that mindset of changing niches.
It's really dense, right? Like I've messaged wheelchair for so long, and messaging more to the general public has been a little bit of a mindset shift. But I think the biggest thing is you can't be so tied to the analytics, and you have to understand with any transition, there's going to be some fall off. And like at the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy, because I see all these other creators creating what I call puddle content, where it's like, you have the hook, it's the quick thing, and it just is there for the likes, for the engagement real quick. Where my content, like the captions, are where the meat is. It's where you like really get some mindset growth. I put a lot of time into the captions, always have, always will, even if only 10 people read it. I know that I can impact somebody. That's what brings me joy. And I think at the end of the day, you have to do content creation that brings you joy. You can't just do what everyone else is doing, what's trendy, just trying to keep up with the Joneses and fit in. It's not worth it for your soul, because that's when it starts to become draining, daunting, and feel like a job. And then be organized with your content, man. Like I said, I have a lot of brands I work with, and so I get very creative. Some brands pay me to post, some don't. And so, like, for example, I did a collaboration post the other day with Kenda and Spinergy. It wasn't a paid post with either of them, but I was able to promote my discount code for both and share that I love both and do it in a creative way. And so that's scheduled in my content. I have a spreadsheet that has every single week on it, Monday to Wednesday, each platform, what I plan to post on the platform for that. And then I have a Google Doc for each month with all of my captions for each one. And so I build out my captions for the month at the beginning of the month. And I literally am like picking a B-roll video to throw the hook on and throw the caption on. Or I'm taking podcasts. I use AI apps like Opus Clip. It's probably my favorite AI app for content creation. If you do a lot of podcast interviews, you take the link from YouTube, drop it in there, type what you want to pull from the podcast, what impactful moments, and you schedule it all from that platform. And so any of my talking head podcast videos that go up, I currently have 2 scheduled a week right now. And so that's automatically doing content for me. And so you've got to make it easy and fit into your life, but you also like set that 3 hours aside to create the content, and you need to not get lost on Instagram when creating the content. I think that's the biggest thing. And so use your Instagram as a tool, but don't get caught up in doom scrolling. Like if you have work to do, you need to finish your work before you go scrolling Instagram. And you have to legit set the time aside. Like your girl's an old school planner. I use a paper, pen, hour by hour planner. But I time block my days because I have a fitness app called Wheel With Me Fit. I have a nonprofit called Wheel With Me Foundation. I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a full-time job as a medical device sales rep. So like I have 4 big things. And then I always tell my wheelies, I'm like, your 5th job or side hustle is your health and wellness. Like taking care of yourself as a wheelchair user is a full-time job, and you have to make sure that you allocate the time for that.
One quick question just to follow up from that, and then we'll move on. What other AI apps are you using that you're using in your workflow? Of course, Opus Clip. That's a great shout out.
I do.
What else
I do love Opus Clip. It's like one of my favorites, and I'll share a link with you for the show notes. I love Chat. Chat and I have a really deep relationship. I use a accountability app called the Operator Standard. I'll also share a link to that. It's created by Andy Frisella. He's one of my favorite business people to get information from. But there is an AI tool in there that creates accountability. Probably one of the coolest apps. I've been using it for 2 months now, and I've been more disciplined than I've been the last year. Really, really happy with that app. And then I also just got involved with a app called Social Suite. That one does cost a little bit, but what it does is it uploads all your followers from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the above. And so then you have all of this contacts in a database. And so you type in podcast, and it's going to pull up all your contacts from all your followers, everything that have podcasts. So now you can connect with people a lot easier. You can search for what you're looking for, like marketing. So if I'm looking for the marketing manager of this business, I can search my followers to see if they already follow me.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's work towards wrapping. This is, I mean, I feel like I need to do 10 more parts of this podcast with you, Jesi. We'll cue those up in the future. This has been so much fun. Let's just, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the app. You built the app with us 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
How has that app been? And what have what has the process been? What have people said about it? Do you regret doing it? Just tell us a little bit about that.
I actually shared a text message on our Instagram story today that I got. A woman called me a new wheelchair user from a chronic illness. And I talked to her and I was like, girl, you want to work? She's like, I'm looking for workouts. I was like, oh, well, I have an app. Let me send you the link. I sent her the link. She went back to the gym for the first time and was so grateful to have a plan. And so before we launched Wheel With Me Fit, there was no fitness app completely catered to wheelchair users with classes and routines. They were having to find things on YouTube or do workout with elderly people. There was nothing actually created for us by us. And so I have my adaptive training certifications. Nikki's a certified personal trainer. And so we came together to give our community this platform. We have full programming. We have classes. We have routines. There's mindset calls. We do 2 live workouts a week in there. It's just so cool because our community is like, this is so needed. This is something we didn't have. And so we were able to fill a need. And it's really cool because now you see other wheelchair users starting to be personal trainers and things like that. And so it's like we got to go first and kind of lead the way. And now there's other people doing it. But just forever grateful to create the app and give our community a resource. And like even I tell people, I'm like, when I don't feel like doing programming, which is most of the time, I literally get in the app and I use one of our workouts. Like I use the app, and I think that's
so cool.
It's a tool that we all get to use.
Sometimes we just need to hit play and just, for anybody. And what's cool about the app is literally thousands of users. I'm so proud of you guys, how far it's grown. and you guys have really been killing it and continuing to push it. And we see the usage on it. Like, people are using it. So that's so awesome.
This
Jesi?
is the first year Nikki and I got very clear about our goals. So we have monetary goals for the whole year. Our big goal for 2026 is to create $10,000 months. Our goal for quarter one is 3,000. We're about halfway, a little over halfway there right now. Our goal for quarter two is 5,000. Quarter three is 7,500 to hit that 10,000 at the end of the year. And we have awesome. We have a wheelchair user that's doing our SEO on Google and things like that. And so we did end up hiring another wheelchair user to do that, our marketing on that side of things. We're doing events. So we're doing live events, teaching classes, going to all these abilities expos. And we're just in the community. I'm in support groups and people are like, how do I work out in a wheelchair? I'm like, oh, I have this fitness app. And so like whatever it is that you're doing, get into those support groups and scour them once a week. Like, that's a great way for you to grow. If there's a way for you to put on an event or join an event, a wellness event in your community that's happening, go join that event. You might not get paid, but the dividends that pay from people downloading your app is awesome. Like, every abilities expo, we get 10 to 15 people in trials.
That's awesome. And by the way, you guys are killing it on the SEO front, because you guys are getting a lot of downloads, and I'll share a screenshot with you after, from ChatGPT, where people are searching on ChatGPT and they're finding you guys, finding the app.
That's sick. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh. And literally, like, it's kind of a lonely world in there, because you guys don't have much competition, so it's really cool that you guys are being found. The App Connect tracks where the downloads are coming from, and with like privacy stuff, it's always not 100% accurate. There's a lot of that, like, it doesn't know, but there's a bunch of stuff that it doesn't. So that's so cool to see. Jesi, I want to ask you one more question, just because I know people are probably thinking about this. I feel like you're so great at inspiring people. How have you been? How does one go to get speaking gigs?
So
how did this come about?
A lot. I'm going to say you have to do a lot for free in the beginning, and I always record everything. I'm going to be honest. I haven't had a speaking engagement in the last year, but I also haven't actively been pursuing. I do have 3 lined up for this year. And it's been a lot of people reaching out to me. I just have been, so again, using chat. I find the marketing people in corporate businesses that I'm trying to do, like corporate workshops and things like that. I send them an email with a blurb about who I am and what I do. And I'm like, hey, I would love to teach a sales course to your team or a leadership course to your team, and really kind of help support their team and develop them further. My biggest one right now is overcoming trauma and just teaching people to overcome trauma and not let that stop them from executing. And so you just reach out with whatever your niche is, and like expect no reply and expect, people to say no. And that's cool. You add them to a spreadsheet, write down their thing, and then you reach out 6 months to a year later. Like, don't stop. Be persistent. There's been one thing, I forget what it was. There was something I did where I was very persistent. I got told no. And then I just kept keeping on. And then eventually they said yes, and I got to present. And so be okay being told no for a minute. It's kind of like you. You kept emailing me and I kept ignoring. And then eventually we said yes. Yes.
I was quite persistent with you. I love it.
I'm so grateful for that.
Oh my God. I'm so grateful for you. I feel like I always had this thing that, like, I want to build that. We have 110 apps, 115 now. And I'm like, I want to do stuff that makes my mom proud. And I got to tell you, every time I see your post, I'm always saying it to my mom. My mom loves you. My mom sees your stuff, and she saw the app, and like it made her cry. And she's so proud of me that I'm working with you and you guys. And Jesi, I'm so excited for this next chapter of mindset. Because I'm such a big believer in mindset. You can have all the frameworks and the books in the world. Mindset. That's the biggest one. The knowledge is all there. But it's like, if you don't have the right mindset, it's not going to work. And you're living proof of the great, amazing mindset. So I'm very excited to see what you're going to do this year. Leave us with kind of what does 2026 have in store for you? You kind of foreshadowed a lot of stuff already.
I'm so excited. We have a lot of events coming up. I have a big speaking engagement up in New York in May, which I'm so excited for. And just working on the book tour and getting the book out in more hands, that's my biggest goal. I just want more people to be impacted, to realize they are not their trauma. They are not what happened to them. It's what you do after that. And just giving people the confidence to go out and really live this life to the fullest. I think so many of us are living under our potential, and it's sad. Like, that's how we got to where we currently are as a country. And my goal is to inspire people to really go back, take life by the balls, and truly make it the most.
How has the breakthrough team been when you came with your vision for the Wheel With Me app? How has the breakthrough team been to actually bring your vision to life?
I really love that the breakthrough team constantly is evolving and growing and looking for the newest features. The way the app's developed from day one to now has been so cool. Just in 4 years, the amount the app's added value, has been such a game changer. I also love the responsiveness whenever there's an issue or a question. The response is so quick, where you get nervous that you might not have that. And then the level of support. Any question we have, the email campaigns with Clever Tap, all the above, these other options and opportunities. It just, Breakthrough is such an easy organization to work through. And the platform itself is so easy to use. The interface is super user-friendly on the back end. And then the app is beautiful on the front end. And you guys just really handle any bugs, any issues, and make running an app seamless.
Boom. Thank you so much. Okay, last question. What do you have thousands and thousands of members. What do your members love the most about the app? What are some of the things you hear?
They love having a program to follow and that it's available. Some people love the community and that they can comment on the different things. And other people love the live workouts. The journal feature is a big feature that we've been really pushing recently. And the leaderboards. People do love the leaderboards and getting to see that.
That competition's cool, huh? They like that competition.
It is.
Yeah. I always wondered if that competition kind of can sometimes backfire. That's why we added the ability to turn the streak off and achievements off. But I like that they like it, because that's supposed to be the kind of like Duolingo motivational.
That's why we want to add, I think community. This would be great for your partners, is to be able to add a community interaction leaderboard, for amount of comments made.
We're going to be adding that. I love that you gave me that feedback. That will be
such a game. Nikki and I really, we love the leaderboard, but having that leaderboard specifically because we left our Facebook group to come to Breakthrough. And so our community is hosted solely on our app. It's not on Facebook anymore. And so that's what our live calls are in there, everything. And so getting people to engage more and be more inclined to engage in the community through that leaderboard would be awesome.
Jesi, thank you so much. Thank you. This has been Jesi, guys, on the Breakthrough podcast. This was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And if you guys gain value from today's episode, please share it directly with a friend that could also gain value. That's how these shows grow, is when you share it with somebody. Please help Sunny's efforts and get this out to the masses.
Yes. And how can they find you, Jesi? What's your Instagram?
Yeah, you can find me at Jesi Stracham. Looks like Stracham, JesiStracham, on all platforms. You can check me out. My website's the same. And please give my organizations a follow at Wheel With Me Foundation and Wheel With Me Adapt Fit.
Boom. Awesome. Thank you, Jesi.